because I did ask Colin Levy about it. He's the Speaker of the House, and he said it's got a little bit of latitude. We don't have many resolutions anyway. No, 6 in planning. Yeah, and finance has 2. This extra one. Oh, right here.
She put one on your desk.
New agenda.
Do you have that copy of the
Did you put it on the desk? It shouldn't. Oh, wait now. I did. And is this the new sheet? Okay, Mitch, let's get going. We're going to go. Let's get there. Okay, good to go. Okay. Call to order. Want to welcome everybody here this evening. And before we start, we have to ask for declarations of conflict of interest. Any declarations? Okay. Just looking at the approval of the agenda. We'd all like to approve the agenda. Councillor Yankoff.
Would I be able to put my committee report at the very end versus at number 6?
So you want to go,
Yeah.
we'll have 6.6 go to 612, 612 becomes 613, 614.
Yes,
Is that
please.
all right?
Is that okay with everybody?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Anything for you.
Okay.
Worship?
Councillor
Your
Wheel,
Worship.
you want to add something?
Yes, I'd like, with council's permission, a resolution under new business, and then make a brief presentation prior to the council meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why don't we just do that right now, okay? Under the approval, is that all right?
Sure.
Sure.
Want to do your presentation?
It's 2 different issues, Your Worship.
Yeah. We know the resolution will be under new business.
Yeah.
And your presentation, you can do right now.
Thank you.
And I'll follow up.
Thank you.
So we're timing you.
Pardon me?
We're timing you,
Who's timing you?
Mr. Kelly.
Your Worship, members of City Council, ladies and gentlemen, it's not too often I get to rise here in council to recognize one of our citizens. I do it as Chair of Parks and Recreation. We have Volunteer of the Month, but tonight is a very special occasion. Back when we hosted the awards for Make Your Hometown Beautiful, a lot of our residents and different businesses in the city were recognized. But we had a resident who has reminded me on a couple of occasions that we do have a resident in our city that is truly unique and is motivated from within. Doesn't need a program, doesn't need any incentives, goes out and does her passion, her contribution, because of love for her city. The citation tonight is regarding Sylvia Daphne, who resides at 135 Upper Prince Street. But before I talk about the virtues of Daphne, with your permission, I want to thank Norman Hall, and I want to thank Phyllis, because Norman has made it quite clear that we should be recognizing our cities, our residents in our city, but in particular, Sylvia. Earlier this year, the City of Charlottetown hosted its annual recognition awards for beautification, Make Your Hometown Beautiful, on a program that's been in existence for the last 35 years. We celebrated the individuals in our city that make a real difference I want to emphasize, make a real difference. But there is one worthy individual that was missing from our list of recipients, and today, all the council would like to recognize and thank Sylvia Daphne for her services and for her passion to this great city. Sylvia lives in Upper Prince Street. She is retired from DVA. She is originally from Rawdon Mines in Nova Scotia. She attended the University of Dalhousie, worked in Ottawa before coming to Charlottetown, where she has lived for well over 30 years. Every day, whether the weather allows for it or not, she walks through her neighborhood picking up litter. She has been known to go as far as Brighton, around Victoria Park Boardwalk, picking up litter. She is friendly, face to all, and she goes on with her community service. Again, being motivated from within. As residents, we pride ourselves in keeping our properties clean. Well, Sylvia has done the whole city as her backyard. She has truly raised the bar and raised the standard. On behalf of Mayor and City Council, I would like to publicly and sincerely thank you, Sylvia, for your efforts and offer a small token of our appreciation. We're going to have a picture taken. I would ask Councillor Mike Duffy, the Chair of Public Works and Beautification, to join us in that presentation. And Norman, Phyllis, Sylvie, would you please come forward?
Open mic.
You better get in there.
Get a little closer.
And I want to thank you, Norman. Thank you for being so sweet.
Keeps us honest, keeps us clean.
He initiated it.
You initiated it. You deserve it.
It's a complete surprise.
He thought you were finally gonna cut down the big tree.
We've heard of it, Norman. Norman, we've heard about it, Norman. That tree's on the list with a bunch of sidewalks.
I like trees, but I would like that big one to go, so it doesn't.
What do you think he's gonna pick your part?
I've tried that for many years.
The last one came right down on the water, sewer water engineer's porch last year.
He lives across the street.
Hear that, Mike?
I got it.
What?
He's not gonna
Making noise.
show you around,
No.
Thank you, Councillor Twill. Thank you. So, just before we head on to the agenda, I just want to say that December is already here. Can you believe it? It's been a year since we all arrived here. This was our first council meeting, a year ago. Little feisty it was, but we were still together.
And here, same as the first one.
And before we get started with our regular proceedings, I want to take a moment to talk about Christmas and the holidays this month. We are fortunate to live in a very multicultural city with many different traditions, languages, and cultures. This time of year, we have many opportunities to get out into the community with our friends and families to experience a variety of festivities. And I encourage everyone to do so during this festive season. And on that note, and at the risk of missing maybe some, here are some of the events and festivities being celebrated by our citizens this month. The United Arab Emirates celebrated their national holiday just last week, as did Romanians. People from Thailand celebrated the King's birthday on December 5th, one of the national holidays. People from the Philippines, Argentina, and Colombia celebrated the Feast of the Immaculate Conception yesterday, December 8th. Also on December 8th, Buddhists celebrated Bodhi Day, Hindus celebrated Gita Jante, and some people from Spain may have celebrated Immaculate Conception Day and the Immaculate Conception holiday today. Tomorrow, people from Thailand will be celebrating their Constitution Day. On December 12th, some Kenyans will celebrate Jem Uri Day, and people from and Mexicans will be celebrating the feast day of patron saint of Mexico or the Virgin of Guadalupe. December 16th, South Africans Reconciliation Day, and on December 26th, they celebrate the Day of Goodwill. On the same day, on December 26th, the Italians, the French, and Irish celebrate St. Stephen's Day, and those from Greece will be celebrating Synaxis of the Mother of God. December 30th, on December 30th, people from the Philippines celebrate Rizal Day. Our Jewish citizens will be celebrating Hanukkah. That starts on December 23rd and ends on December 30th. And for everyone who celebrates Yule or winter solstice, it begins on December 22nd, which is the shortest day of the year. And our Japanese citizens will be celebrating Omsoka on December 31st. And this is the one I like. Kwanzaa is a week-long celebration honoring African heritage, and it begins on December 26th. So certainly it's not a complete list, but it gives you an idea of just some of the holidays, traditional events, and ceremonies rooted in the cultures and religions here in Charlottetown, the birthplace of the Confederation. Also in December, there are international days of recognition, including World AIDS Day, which was celebrated last week at the Guild on December 1st, International Day for the Abolition of Slavery on December 2nd, International Volunteers Day on December 5th, International Civil Aviation Day on December 7th, and Human Rights Day on December 10th. And there will be an event at the Jack Blanchard Hall tomorrow celebrating Human Rights Day. I'm sure we will say this again before we adjourn tonight, but on behalf of Lori, Alec, my son Alec, and my daughter Emma Louise, I want to wish you all a Merry, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. It's been a great year, and I'm looking for another great year next year. Thank you very much.
Yep.
So we'll move on to the agenda business. You got the adoption of previous draft minutes. Regular meeting, November 12th. Special meetings open, November 14th, 18th, 25th, December 2nd, 2019, and a planning public meeting that was held on November 27th, 2019. I have someone moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor McLeod. Any discussion? Okay. Business arising from the minutes. No business? Okay, so we can go right to reports of committees. And Councillor Rivera, your first.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Worship. All right. See if I can keep my voice for most of the meeting here. So Planning Board met on Monday, December 2nd. Reports are in your package. The Heritage Board did not meet this last month. The Design Review did meet on Monday, November 18th, as well as Monday, November 25th. Again, a copy of the minutes are in your packages. There are 6 resolutions for your consideration tonight and 1 reading paper. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Can we go right to the resolutions? Mr. Kelly, can you look at the first one?
Your Worship, move by Councillor Farage, second by Cody, Mayor Cody, that the request to direct staff to issue a statement of concurrence to Industry Canada in relation to the proposed antenna system Eastlink Tower at 162 Sherwood Road, PID 823120 be approved.
Question.
Councillor Tweel has put up his, Councillor Tweel.
Just a question of clarification. Councilor Verdon, thank you for your report. The question I have is, regardless whether or not City Council approves this particular development with the proposed antenna system, out on the Sherwood Road. Whether or not we vote yea or nay, the federal government has the ultimate authority to override and to supersede Charlottetown City Council. They seem to have a history of that. I point to the antenna out on the Queen Elizabeth Drive. I know there was huge, strong opposition. The residents had made it quite clear. Residents we all know and respect a great deal, and they made it clear they were not opposed. That's the question I have, is regardless of what we do here tonight, the federal government can just walk in, and please correct me if I'm wrong, override, supersede, bulldoze ahead, and put this antenna up.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, thank you, Councillor Twill. The long and short of it is you're right. I mean, we could debate this or try to give an explanation, but the simple answer is you're right. They can supersede our decision. So
But it still requires municipal approval.
No, it doesn't.
it does in this sense, but if we were to deny it, they would just go a different route and get what they want.
Which is happening.
It's happening.
Exactly.
Okay, question call there?
Question call.
So what? No, so why even bring in a resolution?
Okay, sir.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor Deputy Mayor Cody, that pursuant to bylaw 2018-12, Building Code bylaw, the City of Charlottetown hereby appoints Shane Jones as the building inspector to undertake inspections and approvals of single detached dwellings and accessory buildings, and that this designation of authority shall cease if the job duties of this employee no longer require the designation, if the employee terminates employment with the City of Charlottetown or upon further written notice.
Easy one. Question call?
Question call.
Your Worship, moved by
Just leave it, see what it is.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to extend a legal non-conforming use, i.e. allow the existing eating and drinking establishment to obtain a liquor license at 35 Prince Street, PID 337089, be rejected.
Question? Okay.
Who's 35? Oh, yeah.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to reduce the required lot frontage from 65.5 feet to approximately 44.5 feet in order to convert the existing legal non-conforming 4-unit apartment dwelling into a 5-unit apartment dwelling located at 165 Dorchester Street, PID 338400, be approved.
Question call.
Question call?
Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request reconsider Council's September 9th, 2019 decision pertaining to 38 Palmer's Lane, PID 275156, not be reconsidered.
Councillor Twill?
Oh, God.
I'm not sure exactly what took place at Planning Board. I had an opportunity to read the minutes. I know that, and you know, that Planning Board had rejected the development as well as staff. So I'm not sure how it played out at Planning Board. But once again, we're back here dealing with this particular issue. And as you know, you read the letters that were in your package, most of the residents, and I want to emphasize, these are lifelong residents, again, that we all know, have a great deal of respect for, are adamantly opposed to this development. As you know, it's the third time. It's the third time that the development proposal has come forward for staff, Planning Board, city council's consideration. It's an even bigger development than what was previously proposed by the developer. I think the people in the neighborhood, some of these older neighborhoods, they're not against development. What they're saying is that our neighborhood cannot handle this particular development because of the size, because of, it's not consistent with the majority of the housing on the street. Majority of the housing on the street is primarily single-family. There are some duplexes and a couple of apartment buildings, but the whole dynamic of the street is primarily single-family. So what the residents are asking, and that's why, if you go back to the old phrase, a second sober thought, what they're asking for is for council to consider the issues they brought forward by email, by phone calls, attending the public meeting at the Charlottetown Hotel, and making it quite clear they're not in favor of this development. So I just want to reiterate and reinforce what I've stated on numerous occasions, and I'll even take this time, you know, if we're looking at development and we need to have development, there's all kinds of development taking place in our city. Maybe it's time to embark upon a process where we bring in an urban planner that will look at our zoning and development bylaw, official plan, meet with some of the residents, and making sure that the integrity, the streetscapes, the character, the historical significance of these neighborhoods are not compromised and undermined in any which way, shape, or form. On behalf of the residents, I ask you for your consideration.
Want to respond there, Councilor?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. What happening at Planning Board, these are kind of two separate applications, if you will. I mean, we approved an apartment complex on this site, rezoning, a couple of months ago. This was simply a ask of the residents for planning or for council to reconsider, but there's a threshold that needs to be met through our bylaws to allow us to reconsider. So really the ask was, from the planning board perspective, is did they feel the thresholds were met? Planning staff recommended to go against this recommendation because they didn't meet the threshold. Planning board liking or disliking the project didn't matter. That wasn't their job. Their job was to ensure that the thresholds that were outlined in our bylaws were either met or not met. And that's what the vote was on. So it had nothing to do with the actual construction building. That was all done already. There just wasn't a threshold for reconsideration.
Thank you for your response, Councilor Rivard. So basically, I think try to capture what you just stated, paraphrasing, is on the process.
Correct.
And the process. So did planning staff and their rejection of the reconsideration, did they reach out to the city solicitors? And because, I mean, this is going to Iraq, we all know that. I mean, they made it clear it's in abeyance, and regardless of what council does, especially if council rejects the reconsideration, they are going to Iraq. They made that quite clear. Did staff, and maybe Mr. Forbes can help us, did staff reach out to the city solicitors to make sure that there's no possible way that the process is not being followed or is being followed, and that we're within our legal realm to entertain the reconsideration? And what was the advice from the solicitors?
Alex, I think the councilors already stated they may go to Iraq with this, so all we're doing is predisposing ourselves by talking about it much more. Does someone want to call for the question? Because
Well, Your Worship, I can just.
can you answer that?
Yeah. So
Because I think we're carrying on, I think we're getting ourselves into a position where we may jeopardize what we're talking about here.
I don't think we are, Your Worship. I think these are fair questions on behalf of Councillor Tweel, but I just think that there's maybe some confusion as to what we're reconsidering or what we're.
Clarify it.
Right. So in this case, like I said, it's really the threshold that has to be met that's in our bylaws that council approved. Now, again, the last paragraph of the report says, in staff's opinion, there is no appearance of clear doubt as to the correctness of council's decision. There was nothing that was provided to planning staff that made them feel that our decision in any capacity was incorrect based on the information. So again, as part of the appeal process, they're asking for reconsideration first. The appeal is at IRAC, and it's just on hold until this decision is made. But again, that's staff's recommendation, and planning board agreed with the recommendation, so it's up to council to vote on it tonight.
Councillor Whelan, you've spoken twice on the
But my point is significant,
yeah, well,
Your
just,
Worship.
you know what, it's your summary point.
Great.
Summarize.
So again, with all due respect, as Chair of Planning, were the solicitors for the city of Charlottetown, were they contacted? Was there any engagement with the solicitors, any collaboration? And what was the advice from the city solicitors to the staff in the planning department?
Just give a yes or no there.
Did we contact the solicitors, Alex?
Did we contact them?
I didn't, I have a conflict on this application.
Thank you.
but
Okay.
All staff, on, reconsideration, consult with our lawyer to ensure that, that they agree with, our summation. So, I didn't do it, but it was done.
Thank you.
Okay, question.
Questions called?
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Barge, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to amend an existing development concept plan and development agreement in the CDA zone from 2 buildings with 88 units in total to 1 building with 88 units and increase the height from 50 feet to 62 feet for lot 2014-6 Towers Road, PID 1076728, be approved, subject to design review for a portion of the building with affordable housing and the signing of the amended development agreement.
Question, Councillor Twill.
Just a couple of questions. First of all, I want to thank council for allowing me to have the conference call. When I was in Ottawa attending the FCM Board of Directors meeting, I tried to become as familiar with this issue as I possibly can. I know that this is the third time developer has come back and altered their plans. I don't know, I think we might be breaking the Guinness Book of Records where developers are coming back and always wanting to change their plans, whatever reasons, but that seems to be the norm. So the rationale and logic to go to 1 building was to avoid the easement, as I understand it. But the previous development, when it was 2 buildings, still allowed for the easement, and they were still able to construct the 2 buildings. So if they were able to construct the 2 buildings with the previous resolution, and council approved it, which we all did, what is the barrier, or why did they single out the easement when they were able to construct the 2 buildings previously on a resolution that was approved by council?
Thank you, Your Worship. That's an easy one. I mean, both were concept plans at the time. So until a developer is serious about the next step, next phase in building, this is when the work was done, the plans. This is when they discovered the easement. But before that, what we approved on all cases were concept plans of what the property would look like in the buildings.
Thank you, Councillor Rivard. And the previous plans did illustrate underground parking. That is no longer the case. Why did the developer choose not to go with the underground parking, as would have been an opportunity to save as much green space around the development as it is closer to the rails and trails? What was the rationale for eliminating the underground parking, which I thought was a pretty good feature?
Thank you, Councillor Twill. Actually, I think the trade-off, which I think is actually a better feature than underground parking, was that the developer was going to offer 28 units, which is 32% of the building, as affordable housing. So sometimes we have to make trade-offs, and the underground parking and the cost to do so. The trade-off was for 28 units of affordable housing, which I think Charlottetown is certainly in need of, and I think it's, again, I think this is a good proposal, and like I said, it's close to amenities and everything else. I certainly support this project.
28 affordable and accessible housing.
That is correct.
Question call?
Question called.
Or sorry,
9-1.
Screen space and underground parking. I thought you could have done that as well. It's just the cost. It's exactly the cost. It's all about the cost, right? So we can't expect.
Your worship, to adopt bylaw P8Z2.2022, a bylaw to amend an existing development concept plan and development agreement in the CDA zone from 2 buildings with 88 units in total to 1 building with 88 units, and increase the height from 50 feet to 62 feet for the lot 2014-6, Towers Road, PID 107-67218, 28. Moved by Councillor Barrett, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that be resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw P8Z2.2022 as it pertains to lot 2014-6 Towers Road, PID 107-6728, as attached, be read the first time, Your Worship.
First reading, correct?
Just a question.
Yep, so just hit your button there, because you want a question. Okay, you're up there.
Just a question. I don't know if you could help me, but we you know, we've heard over the last number of months about affordable housing crisis, and you just said earlier there that the trade-off or the compromise was the underground parking for, you said, Your Worship, to use your 28?
28, sir?
Okay, 28. Could someone please, in this chamber, give me the definition of what affordable housing is? What is the exact definition? Is it $500? Is it $700? Is it $1,000? Is it $1,500, $1,700? I'd really like to know what, okay.
There's a couple there.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, thank you, Councillor Tweel. I mean, the word affordable housing gets thrown out a lot, I agree, and I guess something is affordable to somebody. Under this proposal, they want to work through the province and then tap into the funding that they have for the affordable housing, and they have certain criteria that need to be met. I'm not sure exactly what they are. I don't want to speak on behalf.
25% net.
Yeah.
Or you take 80% of the average through CMHC rules.
So
2 definitions.
yeah. But again, I think their focus in my conversations with them is that they want to tap into monies that are available through the province for this project.
So the simple math would be if it was $1,000 monthly income, 25% net of that after taxes paid
Yep.
would be $250.
Yeah, and they would
80% would be, they take a circle of within the 100 meters, find what the average rent is, and take 80% of that. That's your definition.
It's a criteria the province has.
You want to clarify it?
So the developer gets to take advantage of subsidizing programs with the provincial government,
Provincial and federal, yeah.
and don't want to neglect the affordable housing policy that the previous city council put a lot of time and effort into, passed. We were being proactive as well, and what is that, to 20 years? 20 years tax-free. So,
Sliding scale.
well, sliding scale, wherever you want to
Just on-
categorize it.
Just
but-
on the units.
Yeah, on the units. Okay, so the developer gets to take advantage of the affordable housing policy by the city, plus the formula that's sketched out by the provincial government. So again, does that guarantee that folks in this city are going to be able to get an apartment at $500-600 a month? Is that a guarantee?
It's a step
Can't,
towards,
you can't guarantee it, we're just making
Step
something
towards-
available.
it's a step towards the
Okay.
housing.
No?
Question, Councilor? What's that?
Question's
Oh,
called.
shall it pass?
Pass.
Your Worship, be resolved that the zoning development amendment bylaw P8ZD.2022 be approved and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council, moved by Councilor Rivera, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, Your Worship.
Shall it pass?
Pass.
Okay.
So it's Robert Leonard.
Councilor Bernard, anything else?
Your worship, I'll also use this opportunity to wish yourself, your family, and council and their families Merry Christmas as well. I know we'll see each other in the meantime, but I hope everyone has a healthy and safe Christmas, and look forward to the next year as well, your worship.
Thank you very much. Very much. Water and sewer. Deputy Director.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our committee met, and the report is in your package. I think it's fairly self-explanatory this month, but if there's any questions, I will do my best to answer them, and there's no resolution for council's consideration. No.
Looks good. Move on to the next report. Public Works. Report, Scott Adams is up to the table there. Anderson.
Can you speak? Thank you, Worship. Thank you.
Cruising now.
I'm going to try to be brief tonight. We have another commitment to go to, so I'll just... Networking. Got it. The Public Works and Urban Beautification Committee met on this past month on November 27th. The first issue that I'd like to just bring up tonight is that we met with Ken Murnion. Ken is the chairperson of the Civic Advisory Board of Persons with Disabilities. Ken wanted to come in and talk to us about the progress he has been making with his committee, his board, and the first project that his group has been addressing is to contact very shortly by letter all those support groups out there, such as the CNIB and the Council of Disabled, that sort of thing, to get those folks into a meeting to relay to them, being the advisory board, how they can help in solving some of their issues or problems with their disability and the environment around Charlottetown. So they're making headway in that regard, and that'll be going out next month. Ken also wanted to talk a little bit about bike lanes and the barrier-free report that was put together in 2015. And as usual, Ken likes to hammer home the idea of the necessity of wearing bicycle helmets when you're on a bicycle. So it was a very profitable session that we had with Ken, both for us and for his group. The next issue that we covered on the 27th was the intersection traffic flow improvements. This basically is, we have two areas that we're concentrating on to improve the movement of traffic during, well, in one case, during certain times of the day. First issue is with North River Road and Brighton Road. The problem there is, especially commutes early in the morning, the stacking of cars at the stop sign on Brighton Road trying to access, on North River Road trying to access Brighton Road, it can get to be quite a lineup up the street. It can go up as far as Admiral Street, Green Street. So there has to be a way to handle that flow, especially at that time. And what happens when it starts to stack that long, people get impatient and they get into the habit of using side residential streets such as Greenfield or Ambrose Street or Spring Park Road to get them downtown after they've been sitting in the lineup for a while. So the speed is increased and the use of the residential streets that aren't meant for that are used. So the department, Public Works Department, has decided to try a pilot project at that intersections. So they'll be converting it from a one-way stop sign, people on North River Road stopping, to a three-way stop. So all people will be required to stop before proceeding in their chosen direction. The second area that is going to be used, and that's a pilot project, by the way, and the results will be reviewed at the end of a certain period of time to see if we're gaining the impact that we think we will gain. The second area is at the corner of Sandstone Drive and Thompson Avenue, which is basically out by the Robbins Donuts, off the Capitol Drive area there. That's a three-way stop out there presently, so we're doing the reverse there. We'll be taking down the stop sign that causes you to stop on Sandstone Drive. So all traffic on Thompson still would have to stop, but it'll be straight through for Sandstone. I don't know why it was made that way. Maybe there was reasons at the time, but those reasons have long since gone. So those are the two, and that also is a pilot project, so we'll see how we get along in that regard. Another area that we touched upon is the traffic count data. We're hoping to come to City Council with a policy pertaining to providing traffic count data that has been done either by our own department or by consultants. We get many requests from private industry, private business to obtain that information for their own use. So the policy will be address administering those requests, because presently it costs between $400 to $1,000 to conduct those studies. So all we're doing is trying to recoup some revenue that we have, taxpayers' revenue that we put out to get this information, and we just like to share the expense of that with the private industries. And there's also a rider on that in the fact that if you do partake in the program, the City of Charlottetown would appreciate you not sharing it with other people. It's for your use only. That brings us to future design projects. There's a number of projects underway or planned to be underway throughout the city, such as Pond Street, Fairfield Street, Towers Road, Spencer Drive. These are all large projects. Ken's Corner is another one, kind of a misnomer now that it's not Ken's anymore, but these are long-standing projects that should be dealt with, and we haven't been in a financial position up until this point to deal with them. So the department has decided that it would be a good idea for these major projects, rather going out piecemeal to each at each time the project is about to begin or shortly beforehand, looking for a design work to be done on the particular work. We would put all our projects for a particular season together in one and issue an RFP for people in that business. It will attract more participants, and therefore, with more people participating, it should end up costing us less money than it does to go piecemeal. So that's another area we've covered. I think, Your Worship, that should pretty well do it for tonight. I will answer any questions that anyone has, and I have one resolution for Council's consideration concerning the rent on the storage building on Kensington Road. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Rivera.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your report, Councillor Duffy. Going through the future design projects that are listed here, I see some of the ones that we've talked about in the past, but the one I don't see, which is Beach Grove Road, is, when we talk about future design work, does that mean the work has already been completed on the design piece, and we're ready for the next phase, or does this mean that it just didn't make the list because that is imperative that that project be part of this? Thank you.
Councilor Rivera. This afternoon when I was putting this together, I noticed that as I was going through the minutes that it's not listed. Maybe I could defer to Mr. Adams to address that.
Your Worship, when we were going through the capital budget process, we were looking at streets that we wanted to do this work. And I guess if this work does get done under the capital program, then we will make sure it's added to the
Capital project.
program. So it's part of the capital budget discussion. And that gives a chance to make a decision.
Supplementary question
Yeah,
there,
please.
Councilor Rivera.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I can't stress enough. I mean, I get that everyone wants sidewalks in their areas for safety, but I need to again stress the importance of Beach Grove. We have 2 nursing homes in the area where family members wanting to walk their loved ones. Beach Grove is not only the road falling apart on the sides, but you can't take a family member for a walk in a wheelchair because it's so narrow of a road. And
Stars for Life.
got the Stars for Life out there. We have another building for
Life Bridges.
life. So many residents of ours that maybe require a little bit of special care and some safety components. And I think Beach Grove Road is imperative that this project be a high priority because of the businesses and they're, like I said, the residents in the homes that enjoy getting out, be it in a wheelchair or a walker to to enjoy outside as opposed to being confined to a parking lot. So I think it's critical.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Drawn.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Councillor Duffy, for your report. I had a few concerns, or a few residents, not just in my ward, but throughout the city, were wondering about the sidewalks during this last storm. I was down by the, what street is it? The roundabout, Tim Hortons, where the propane tanks are. Allen Street, yes. So people were parking down and walking up to see the Christmas parade, and they were on the street, and that was like 5 o'clock on Sunday night, and the road wasn't plowed, or the sidewalk, and then Kensington Road the next day, that wasn't where a lady walks her dog in town, so she was on the road. So I get these calls, and I said, well, you know what, it's the first storm of the season. I said, maybe things aren't just tickety-boo here right now, but, you know, I'll bring it up at council, and I'll see if there was a concern that, you know, did we have enough sidewalk plows, or is there something we could do, or maybe it's 1st of December that we're gonna start being more productive. So would you have any answer for me on that, please?
Well, I can add some information to your question. I'll defer to Mr. Adams if he wishes to join in. I was led to believe that we had, I believe, 11 sidewalk plows ready to go, and within half an hour to an hour, 4 of them were down with mechanical problems, even though they were considered ready to go. I think also, I took a tour on that particular Sunday night after the parade to see what was going on in the various wards, and it soon became apparent that our philosophy, or our plan, which is that depending on what time the plows hit the road, in other words, what time the storm is over, the philosophy is that if it's a Saturday, well, you go to the churches and fan out from there in order to accommodate those folks who walk to church the next morning, Sunday morning. If it happens to be a Sunday and it's after the church services, that's kind of useless. They're not going to be there for the next week, so they go to the schools to get those prepared for Monday morning, and they fan out in the same fashion. And then they go to the side streets, or the thoroughfares, the residential streets, the collector streets. And I think basically what happened was they followed their game plan, so to speak, in those 3 scenarios, but they simply just did not have enough machinery to complete it within 24 or 36 hours after the storm. And I'll ask Mr. Adams if he'd like to contribute to that.
No, Your Worship, Councillor Duffy spoke well about it. Exactly, we had 4 breakdowns within the tower, which is partially expected for a first snowfall. We think we got all the bugs worked out of it, but there's some minor hoses will break. They've been sitting all winter or summer long. So just an unfortunate event that we had somebody go down in the first hour, and that got us off to the wrong foot. But my staff have told me we have them all ready to go, and we're ready to go for the next major snowfall that we have this year.
Terrific. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to resolution, which is about
Keeping them
sidewalk
going.
plows.
Your worship, moved by Councilor Duffy, seconded by Councilor Bernard, that the city enter into a 2-year lease extension agreement with the option of a 1-year extension with Cape Dior Holdings Limited for the property at 68 Kensington Road in the amount of $37,200 per year plus applicable taxes, and that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your worship.
To clarify, the store, snow plowing, sidewalk plows, correct?
Yes.
Among other things.
Yes.
Among other
But that's the principle.
Yeah.
Okay,
Question called?
question call, go ahead. Thank you, sir. Councilor Creel? That's good, sir.
Thank you, Worship.
Thank you very much, Councilor Duffy. Economic Development, Tourism, Events Management, Councilor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your
Ward
Worship.
5.
We met November 8th, and the Charlottetown Advisory Board met November 12th. The minutes are in your package. We have no resolutions, but I have a few highlights if I may, Your Worship.
Right ahead, 5 minutes.
Oh, 5. The Charlottetown Christmas Festival and Market and the Wintertide Holiday Festival tree lighting and the Christmas parade, they all come off with great success. despite the weather changes or challenges that were faced. And I'd like to thank Mr. Stewart for doing one of the sound cars, and Alana for doing one, and people. The free wintertide concerts at the Trinity United Church took place this past week, and both shows were sold out. And a lot of donations were collected for the Salvation Army Christmas Carol. Plans are underway for the Capital New Year's family tailgate party that's taking place at the East Link Center before the Island Storms New Year's Eve game. And just so an update, I was in Summerside this morning for a press conference for the World Under-17 Hockey Challenge that's coming here in October. People from Hockey Canada were here, and people from Summerside and everything. And I'd like to note, things are falling into place very well. And the credit union announced, as everyone read in their probably press release, they're giving away 5,300 tickets to every minor hockey player on PEI to go to these games.
City of Somerset.
No, everybody. The credit union is a major sponsor for this.
5,200 minor hockey players across the island.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So things are going well with that. Talking to Jeff Beck, who is from Hockey Canada up there today, we had a little chat, and I met Jeff last year when I was up there, and he said, anyone who has an opportunity to see these games, you're going to be so impressed. There's going to be NHL scouts here and everything along that line. There's 8 teams. And he said other cities that they have it in before, they're phoning Hockey Canada right now trying to get it back because it's such a popular item. So that's all my report, Your Worship. Any questions, I will certainly try and answer them. Thank you. Oh, and I'd like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to to the mayor and council and staff. And I hope you have a very prosperous year.
Thanks, Santa.
One way. Questions? Okay, then we go to the next report. Terry McLeod. Sustainability.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Environment and Sustainability Committee met on the 26th of November and December 3rd. Our Mayor's Task Force on Active Transportation met on October 8th and November 13th. And the Food Council met on November 19th. The draft minutes are in your package. I had no resolutions for consideration tonight, Your Worship. Oh, yes, sorry, I do have one, sorry. I should have changed my own copy here. So I have one. I just want to bring one highlight, is our single-use plastic reduction campaign that we have on right now, and it's called Bring It Charlottetown campaign. And to give you a little background, the city staff has developed a social marketing campaign, is what this is, to encourage people who live, work, and play in Charlottetown to reduce their use of single-use plastics. The campaign has been developed based on the feedback received over 1,220 applicants from a recent survey that the city had conducted in August. The survey gathered information on the public's attitudes and behaviors on the use of single-use plastics and what roadblocks there would be in that. So moving forward, these types of single-use plastics that we're highlighting is your straw, your take-out container, hot and cold beverage cups, that type of thing. And because as people walk along the shorelines, this is what they're finding, right? So it's critical that we kind of change people's thoughts and attitudes toward using single-use plastic. So the idea is we have this pledge booth where we have it set up. We did it once here on Saturday. We're going to do it again tomorrow here at City Hall, and we're doing it again at the Farmers Market on the 15th, and then we've got 3 more times in January. So the idea is to try and break that barrier and the availability that is there for the individual who wants to do something with single-use plastic. So you come in to the pledge, you make a pledge that you'll use one of these items, and we'll give you that item for free. And it's a social media thing, and just a good example of this would be the plastic bag ban, Your Worship. The province did it, and eventually it took us a while to really get going on it, and now people are bringing their bags in and cut out plastic. So the idea is the same as this. We're just looking forward to support from council. Try to get out to one of these booths and get your picture taken, and you get something for free. So you can't beat that. Anyway, outside of that, I'll move on to the resolution.
I went out
Any
on
questions?
Saturday, Charlottetown Mall.
You were out Saturday.
Picked up my wooden spoon and knife.
Don't say wooden spoon in front of it. You should get spanked with.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Bernard, that the City of Charlottetown withdraw the existing application to the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program to purchase 2 mini transit buses at a total project cost of $237,000 HST included, and submit an application to purchase 2 mini transit buses at a total project cost of $472,500, HST included, to allow for the superior transit buses that offer greater accessibility for transit riders and that include electronic fare boxes for improving ridership data, and that the city contribution to this project be adjusted to $45,000, HST included, to $90,000, HST included, and further that the city's contribution is equivalent to 19% of the total project cost, with the federal, provincial, municipal funding partners covering the remaining cost. Be it further resolved that the city's contribution to this project be changed from the 2019-2020 capital budget to the 2020-2021 capital budget, Your Worship.
Councillor Duran.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Councillor McLeod, for this report. I'm just wondering, like, this is a $200 and some thousand, I guess, greater expenditure, and it just says for superior transit buses with a electronic fare box. Like, is this, I'm sure your committee looked into this and there's a good reason, but could you explain that just so I can be able to, you know, to tell someone that asks, why did you vote for this, or?
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Dwelling, for your question. So basically, what's happened is our mini buses have come in higher price than what we had budgeted for at that time, but it still falls in under our budget. It is going to cost us more money for the buses, and that's what we're doing. We're just following the proper protocol by canceling that resolution and creating another one with the increased cost, and we still fall under budget. So if we're not spending money that's not already allocated. So because we come in under budget on the project.
So the contribution to this project be adjusted from 45,000 to 90,000. That's our contribution.
That's our contribution.
Yeah, so we're going from 45 to 90. Then there are the other municipalities, Stratford, Cornwall, federal and
And
provincial
they
government.
are all on board with it as well.
Councillor Toronto?
Well, I appreciate your explanation, and again, I thank you for coming back and explaining this to, you know, when you're spending the money and things like that, it gives council an opportunity to see what you're doing, and if anybody asks questions, then we have the answers ready. So again, I applaud you for explaining this to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Question called.
Thank you, there.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. And again, Merry Christmas to all, even to you, Councilor Rand.
Ho, ho, you too. And a ho, ho, you too, Councilman.
So we're going to rate to, we're skipping strategic priorities and going to finance.
Sure.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Renner.
Yep. Your Worship, the Finance Audit Tender Committee met on December the 4th. Minutes are in your packet, Your Worship. A couple of resolutions also. The first resolution, Your Worship, is for the continuation of the gas tax funding. There's a 5-year plan needs to be approved and sent ahead to the federal government. The second resolution is an amendment change that the carrier facility had asked for, Your Worship, so it's pretty straightforward. The other thing, Your Worship, as the year winds down, I want to pass on a sincere thank you. First to our CIO, Peter Kelly, and our finance department, which Mark Lanigan heads up. Your Worship, and my committee members. There was a lot of work accomplished this year with 2 audits, along with the changes to the accounting standards, tangible capital asset policy. So finance staff upstairs has been very, very busy. So it's been a busy year, Your Worship. A lot of work has been done by all, and it's good to know we are entering the 2020-2021 budget cycle on sound financial footing. So, Your Worship, want to wish you, all council members and all staff, Merry Christmas, and enjoy the holidays. Your Worship, if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Councillor Twill.
Yeah. Thank you for your report, Councilor Bernard. As you can recall, a couple of months ago, we were talking about tendering, and I asked if the committee could look at adding a component to the tendering process where one of the ratings, one of the criteria would be for emphasis on local local businesses, you know, that could be part of the criteria as part of the rating system, because I understand we have to go with the best price, and sometimes it's not necessarily the best price, what's best, the best bang for the taxpayer. But you know, we do receive feedback when we make decisions, and sometimes the feedback's not so favorable, because you have businesses in our city saying, you know, we're paying taxes, our employees are living here in the city, they're paying taxes, or you know, their children are going to our schools, they're contributing to the local economy, and yet we've got to go with the procurement arrangement and that criteria. So I thought, to be creative, maybe we could add a new component, a new part of the criteria that would include, part of the rating system could include, you know, whether or not a local firm could provide the product, and it's good product. What is the rating system from that aspect? And I bring that up because, you know, we have the procurement, and yet we also have people in our city and our province that's always campaigning about purchasing and buying local. So I'm just looking for some consistency in that regard, so we're not, the campaign to buy local is not contradicting what the procurement policy and what that criteria is all about. So I'm kind of looking to swing the pendulum back the other way, and at least give a bit of an edge, I suppose, to our local businesses, and I would like to add that to the criteria.
Thank you, Councilor Twill. You did bring it up a couple months ago, and we did investigate it. We are tied to the MGA pretty tight, but it's not conclusive yet. We're still getting some more information on that, but it does look like the MGA is pretty strict on the procurement policy and how to follow the procurement policy. So, but like I say, there's still some more information to come back.
And
Go ahead there, sir.
thank you, Councilor Bernard, and of course the MGA. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be amendments made to the MGA as we move along in the months ahead, and that's certainly one I would support. And kind of signal out to our business community, you know, we do value having your business here in the city, and the commercial taxes that you're paying, and everything that you and your employees do for our city.
Thank you, sir. Resolutions here?
Yes, Your Worship.
Want to read the verses here, sir?
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Bernard, second by Councillor Rivard, that the following five-year capital investment plan for expenditures of the 2019-20 through 2023-24 gas tax direct allocation funds be approved, Your Worship.
Question.
Question called.
I'd asked to speak, Your Worship.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Oh, it's okay. Can I speak now?
We can call.
No.
No.
No. I see.
Sorry there, Counselor. I was on my vote register.
All right, then.
Voting or
Are we speaking or voting?
he's voting because I call a question. Question.
Councillor Rivard,
I what?
You have to vote.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Start with the council.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Bernard, second by Councillor Rivard, that whereas the City of Charlottetown is partner in the Bell Alliance Center previously called the Kerry Complex, and whereas the Kerry Board is looking to standardize the wording of the partnership agreement between the City of Charlottetown, UPEI, Town of Stratford, and Kerry, and whereas the Kerry Board has requested an amendment to the existing Clause B, reporting requirements upon completion of the construction of the facility. Kerry will provide operational reports on a bi-monthly basis. Be resolved that the partnership agreement Clause B reporting requirements be amended to read as follows: upon completion of the construction of the facility, Kerry will provide on a monthly basis standard acceptable financial statements on the operation of the facility, as well as the annual audited statements in 120 days of Kerry year-end, Your Worship.
Thank you. Just a clarification, Councilor Bernard, where it says, quote, upon completion of the construction of the facility, Carrie will provide on a monthly basis standard accepted financial statements on the operation of the facility, as well as annual audited statements within 121 days. What do they mean by upon completion of construction of the facility? I mean, the facility's built.
That was the wording that was in there from day one. And so all they're really asking for is, so upon completion, the construction of the facility was always there. So this
Right.
agreement was made before the facility was built. What they're asking for really is the operational, the audit statements basically to come in more regular. It's bi-weekly, they want to do it now weekly. And then they want the audited statements within 120 days of the year end. That wasn't in the first clause, so,
Do it monthly, Terry?
Yes, monthly in Rentham.
yeah.
By month.
Was bi-monthly, now going monthly.
Now it's 1 month. Good thing.
Right.
Question called.
Make sense?
You're all right?
Monthly, you said.
That's all?
Councillor Twill?
You okay?
Yeah, I voted.
Good, okay. Let's go to the vote.
All the jewels.
Yes.
Where do you get your question to?
So the Human Resources, Communications and Administration Committee last met on November the 20th. The minutes are in your package. We do have one resolution for your consideration, and if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Cabe, second by Councillor Bancroft, that as per the conditions of the public request for quotations for the upgraded networking cabling at the Charlottetown Police Services, the submission of Hanson Electric in the amount of $38,075, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this amount is expensed to the 2019-20 Information Technology Capital Budget, and that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, your worship.
Questions on that? Good.
So question called.
Tom?
Guess we should vote for that one, Bob.
Councillor Twill?
Busy laughing.
Good work, too.
Got it, Councillor Cabe?
What? Yes, thank you, yeah.
Very much.
So let's go home now, let's fight.
Thank you. Members of council, usually the first order of business is the volunteer of the month. As Chair of Parks and Recreation and Leisure Activities Committee, I am pleased to announce that Tara Wheeler as our volunteer of the month for December. Tara has been the treasurer of the Sherwood Parkdale Rangers Soccer Club since 2017. Tara is a board member of the Community Legal Information and just recently took the role of treasurer for that association. She's also taken on the role as treasurer for two other groups, which includes the Kidney Foundation of Canada from 2003 to 2010, and the Celebrate Canada Committee for Prince Edward Island from 2007 to 2011. Please join with me in congratulations to Tara on her recognition as December's Volunteer of the Month. Last Friday, I attended the lighting of the Christmas tree. We had the Jingle Bell Walk in West Royalty, 24th annual Jingle Bell Walk, and the lighting of the tree, and there was bounties for the children inside the West Royalty Community Center. There was food and great entertainment by Michael Pendergrast. It was a great event. It was well attended, and I think if some of the councilors would have been there, I think you would have been pleased with the program that was illustrated by our Parks and Recreation staff. Christopher and Frank, the lady that replaced Brent, Brianna, and who else? Who else from Parks were there? Okay, nonetheless, they did a great job. No, Jackie was busy. And then tomorrow evening, I do have the privilege to represent all members of City Council. City of Charlottetown is going to be receipt of an award for 2 projects that are initiated by Parks and Recreation. The 2 projects are the accessible playground at Victoria Park. And the other project is the ever-popular floating dock. So nonetheless, pardon me? Nonetheless, your worship, we persevered. So I want you to know it's very much a privilege and honor to be there tomorrow night, to accept that award. I accept it with all members of City Council in my mind. And so if there's any questions, I will certainly do my best, and if I can't answer it, I have our Parks and Recreation Manager, Frank Quinn, is here. Pardon me?
Nothing.
And then we'll go from there.
Thank you, your worship. Thank you for your report, Councillor Twill. I know I'm on this committee. It's probably a stupid question. How much say do we have in the Kerry Arena?
Pardon?
As far as fixing things up and all that at the Kerry Arena? Like, is that just, are we hands off with that, or anything along that line? I mean, so you have to go through the board then?
Well,
Through the manager. Oh, sorry, council.
well, it's okay. Listen, I'd like to answer the questions. I know you're doing a lot of, I know you're doing a lot of strangers through the night on the phone, but nonetheless, good question, Councilor Ramsey. The old strangers through the night song, Anyway, it's a good question. As you know, there's been anticipated changes with the board at the complex. I think one of the options, it's not a done deal, Councilor Ramsey, one of the options, once you have the,
This is Kerry.
This is Kerry, not Eastlink.
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry,
It's under
I'm sorry, thank you, Peter.
This is Kerry.
Sorry, this is Kerry. We can make recommendations, we do that all the time. Our manager is in constant contact with the staff, and we try to collaborate, and, to ensure that there's consistency in the programs that are being offered, and to work with them. I mean, we do that on an ongoing basis. I think that's safe to say.
Okay, I'll talk to the manager tomorrow.
Okay.
Councilor Rivera.
Thank you, your worship. I think we have 85% stake in Kerry Complex, I think is the number.
Thanks, Peter.
We got 4 seats on the board.
Is that right, 85%? I believe is the right answer.
And we had, anyway, sorry, your question, sir?
Anyways, thank you, Councilor Twill. The ever-popular outdoor rinks. I guess I was looking through the package, and I know that with the cold weather arriving, it's that time of year when we're all hoping and wishing for that outdoor rink Christmas list in each ward. I'm just kind of curious if that is something that's been talked about at the committee level, what wards they're going to be in, and of course, when we think we're going to have, or estimated date of completion. I know it's dependent upon weather, but
No, that's a good question, Councilor Rivera. I can tell you that we haven't really got into the discussions at Parks and Rec. What the norm is we go off the list from the previous year. We do make amendments to that list. I know our manager has heard your question, and I can tell you that when Parks and Rec meets at our next meeting, that will be the number 1 item on the agenda. You're more than welcome to give an insight to our manager about what you would like to see. But again, just to reiterate, we do go off the previous list, but we have made amendments in previous years, and we will have that discussion, and we'll definitely keep you informed, all members of City Council informed.
thank you, Councilor Twill.
Thank you, Worship. The Protective and Emergency Services met on December 2nd. The minutes are included in your package. The fire department was busy this month hosting newcomer sessions where the department helped newcomers learn about our fire department. These sessions were also translated into Mandarin and Arabic for the attendees. The fire department also participated in the Victorian Christmas and our Christmas parade, along with many other training opportunities held within the month. On the policing side, discussions were held on traffic concerns around the city. Chief Smith provided an update on some of those problem areas within the city and some ideas of what we're going to do to solve the problems. Deputy McConnell is pleased to announce that the first meeting of the Citizens Police Academy will be held on January the 7th, 2020, and this is a community policing project that has lots of people interested in this type of a gathering. Police also participated in numerous community events and will be looking forward to the upcoming turkey drive on December the 10th. This concludes my report, and if anyone has any questions, then I will try to answer them as best I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your report, Councillor Duran. I had a few calls from residents the last couple of weeks in terms of the parking ban. And when the residents who have residential parking passes, they get a phone call or a text message that lets them know that the parking ban is on for the evening. And then they're to take their vehicles, in this particular case, down to the CADC parking lot and behind CFCY. And a few residents have been getting notes on their cars that they're no longer allowed to park there. I did check with Deputy McConnell, and he was quite certain that that was allowed, but the notes continue, and I just wonder if you can shed any more light on that. Thank you.
No, I certainly cannot, and I'll pass it along to the deputy. If he feels comfortable to answer the question, I mean.
Deputy, could you do me a favor? Could you just use the mic because it helps the order.
Fire Chief is hogging it.
It's on there now.
It's my understanding, Your Worship, that overnight parking is permissible in CAC law up until 8 a.m. in the morning. We are following up CAC to see why those things are continuing, and we'll advise.
Great, thank you.
Scott does? Yes. Scott, just want to use the mic here, please, because anyone that's
Your Worship, just in addition to that, there's also a second parking lot that we also have now teamed up with on Fitzroy Street, beside Indiel, where the Holocaust staff parking lot is. We also have that for overnight parking as well, and that's still 7:30 in the morning. So residents can either use that one or the one down by the water.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Yankoff?
Yes, thank you very much.
Resolutions? Okay. Council Advisory Committee.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Council Advisory Committee met on November 21st. The draft minutes are there. Beautiful folks. I have no resolution for your consideration, and I'll try to answer any questions if there is. Thank you.
Questions? Okay, so we'll move on to the last report, and that's the
Thank you.
strategic, so just the back in your binder. Oh, sorry about that, sir. We will do new business. I do have we'll do new business. You wanted to go?
Certainly, yeah.
So there is a resolution there, Councillor?
Yes, there is. I'll ask our Chief Administrative Officer to read it, please.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Twill, second by Councillor Duran, whereas there is continuing concern of the existence of individuals conducting illegal activities such as selling of drugs from their residence, and whereas there's a need to hold these individuals and the property owners accountable to ensure the health and safety of all residents of the city of Charlottetown are protected, in particular our youth, and whereas the Prince Edward Island is one of 2 provinces that have not yet enacted civil forfeiture statutes. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown support the creation of a provincial civil forfeiture law as it means for government to seize criminals' property and fight organized crime. And further, the city right Premier Dennis King to ask his government to create such legislation, Your Worship.
Thank you. I want to thank all members of council for allowing me to bring this resolution forward. I can tell you that the issue of drugs in the constituencies I represent, like I'm sure right across the city, is disturbing, it's dangerous, it's unsafe, it's a hazard, it's interfering with the quality of life, undermining the quality of life. People that are living in these respective neighborhoods and communities. I know the police have made some arrests, but we've got to do more. And the national trend is that whenever activities of this magnitude, these illegal activities of this magnitude are taking place, it certainly gives our police department the wherewithal to go in and seize these drug houses that are selling drugs, that are promoting drugs. People are there 7/24. Not just certain hours of the day, it's 7/24, and it's continuous. And we've got to do something drastic. Drastic measures calls for drastic actions. And I believe that with this resolution being passed by City Council and going on in the province, hopefully the incentive for them to bring in legislation in the spring setting of 2020, and that gives the legitimacy and gives the validity to our police department to act and to act quickly, as opposed to monitoring. I know that's part of the intelligence gathering, but I can tell you residents are threatening to leave their respective neighborhoods because of the illegal drug trade. All the work that's gone into revitalizing these neighborhoods, whether it's parks, playgrounds, sports fields, infrastructure work, paving the streets, sidewalks, everything that we tried to do, and yet we are plagued with these drug houses. And I can tell you the residents are very, very, very frustrated. I've sent emails over the last number of years. This is not a new phenomenon to our police department, our senior administration, and I believe that by moving on this path, it sends a clear, unequivocal message that City Council wants to take every step humanly possible to try to deal with this out of control drug trade in our city. Thank you.
Question?
No.
Oh, you,
Request to
Councilor
speak.
Durant, right, look, right here.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for that words of wisdom, Councillor Tweel. I'd just like to back up your resolution here. Our police department is working extremely hard to try to do a great job, and I believe they are. Sometimes they're understaffed, which I think I've said this to council before, that going forward we'll try to see what we can do with that. This resolution is a letter to Premier Dennis King, on behalf of our council, to see if we can make legislation. So there's time for our police department to work within our committees, to formulate a letter that we can all be, happy with. And, I applaud you for pushing this forward, but I think it's, the whole police department can work with you and work with council to see if we can do this right. So, thank you.
So, Councillor, it will go back to the police committee, right?
No, this go right to the province.
Could I just ask, it's not going back to the police committee?
Well, I think, we're looking to write a letter, to ask Premier King, as Councillor Tweel said in the spring, to pass legislation. I believe our police department can be involved, the chiefs or deputies, to help try to get the proper legislation and the proper letter to the province. I don't want to go in, with a half of legislation. I just want them to be part of it. So I support Councillor Tweel for this resolution, but I would also ask that our police department work with this.
So so was the police chief and deputy briefed on this resolution?
I don't know if they were briefed 100%. Like, I haven't talked to them about that. I spoke to Councillor Tweel, and anything that's positive to move this issue forward, I certainly support.
We all do.
And I'm sure council would too. I did talk to the deputy, just a little bit to see if he knows a lot about this stuff. So he's he's on side, but there's some concerns as well. So I'd just like to, put a caution out there that we have to get a collaborative group and get the letter, to the province in the proper manner that it should be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you, Councillor Toronto. Thank you, sir, for seconding the resolution. I appreciate what you're saying, and I know that there's only 2 provinces in Canada that doesn't have this legislation, Prince Edward Island and Newfoundland. So when I said in my previous remarks, the national trend is that every province has this legislation which enables their respective police department to move in and seize these properties that are continuously selling drugs and are being a hazard, creating unsafe activities in the respective neighborhoods and communities. By all means, we want the police department involved, but this has gone on too long, okay? It's gone on too long, years and years and years. And yes, the police department has done everything that it can. It's time to take it to another level. It's time to take it to another level, to send an unequivocal, clear message to our community that City Council is going to explore every possibility, every option under the sun, and why not follow the national trend? It's not only being proactive and being productive, it's also following that national trend. So by all means, but we've got to move forward. We've got to work with the province, bring in some legislation that has some real teeth in it, and let's send a message that this is not going to be tolerated in our city. We've got drug houses in between 2 city schools, an elementary school and a junior high school, and it just goes on and on and on.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Duffy?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just a bit confused. I don't know, like the last the last sentence here said, we're asking Dennis, the Premier,
Yeah,
to urge his government to create such legislation.
that's right.
So why don't we just say that? Like,
Yeah.
why do we have the police department involved? Like, he would go to the RCMP to get background information, would he not? I'm talking about the Premier.
Yeah,
Like, it's his legislation, that's his
That's his
responsibility
responsibility,
to come
you're
up
right.
with the information.
Yeah.
Our police department sure can help him, but
So what's the friendly amendment you want to add to it? What do you want to do?
I don't think you have to give too much circumstance. It's not my resolution, so I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying the essence of the whole thing is contained in the last half of the last sentence.
yeah.
I don't know why you need all that forward to the whole thing, but if you want it, I have no problem with that. I'm just trying to get to what's the essence of the request. Yeah.
Councillor Rivera?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Twill. I certainly support and applaud you, I guess, for trying to champion this in. I guess my question really is around process. Should this have been vetted through the police committee? I guess is ultimately the question, because if there is questions to be answered, and there are some potential roadblocks, hurdles, I would certainly like to know what they are. So I think maybe, I don't know if process, if that would be the proper process, but being a police question, I would certainly value their insight as well on something like this too.
So I think I get a sense that the councillor responsible, Councillor Duran, will take this back to the police committee and try to work collaboratively with our police department, because they are the experts in this, correct? Oh, no, that's for the Councillor Duran. Anyway, Councillor Bernard, sorry, that's sir.
I think everybody agrees with the resolution, and there's only 2 provinces, we're one of the 2 that haven't passed it yet. I think it's a good idea, I think it's a good resolution. I don't think we should be going over the police's head, I think the police should be part of this. I think that there's something could come out of this that we don't know. But at the end of the day, like Councillor Duffy says, I think the King administration will come up with legislation, but I think there has to be some professionalism in it to let them know what they want. I think there should be some back and forth. I think it should go back to the police committee, let them discuss it. You know what you want.
Yeah.
But I think they should be in the know as opposed to going over their head and just sending it off to the province. The province is going to say, well, you talk to the police department, but nope. So I think you have to have that discussion.
That's why having the best police department east of Montreal, you can count on them. Councillor Twill?
Yeah. Well, I understand that, but, this legislation's been in place for years and years and years. And I think Councillor Duffy was correct, and that the Attorney General's office will be working with all police agencies to see what their methodology is and what resources they have right? I think we pass a resolution and let the province begin to work. They're gonna collaborate and consult with the respective police agencies, not only in Charlottetown, but right across the province. So it's, you know, again, it's a resolution that it's gonna take a few months for the province to conduct their research and look at all the different legislations that are across Canada. And, you know, to see which one best fits for this province. But to be honest with you, Councillor Bernard, we've got 70 drug houses in this city that I'm aware of. 70, okay? And it's growing, and it's growing. I don't think we can waste any more time. So let the province conduct the research, work with the respective departments across PEI, in particular our city police, but it's starting the process. That's what we're doing here. We're starting the process. There's nothing more, nothing less, but we're starting the process.
Councillor Rivera.
Just
Oh,
follow.
sorry, you want to follow?
And nobody's disagreeing,
Yeah.
Councilor Twill, but I
Yeah.
do think that, you know, communication is key. We want to
Yeah.
have everybody in the loop.
Yeah.
And I just think that it sounds to me like, I would have thought this would have already been.
I understand that, but
So, you know, finding out that it hasn't been, to me, it's common sense to run it through the police department first. Like I said, communication's key. They're going to have to be involved at some point.
yeah, I understand that.
So I think you can still move ahead with the resolution, I
Yeah.
think, but it also goes to. back
Sure,
to- back
yeah,
to the
absolutely.
committee.
Councillor Rivera.
Yeah, we still going.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that kind of answers my question, I guess, to some point. I guess do you mind if I ask Deputy Chief?
You can ask, we'll bring it right up.
Deputy Chief, I guess my question to you is, seeing this resolution, is there anything that council should be cautious of before approving something? I don't know the answer to that question. I guess I'm looking to you as the professional to
Well,
answer.
the act that, your worship, that's in other provinces called the Safer Community and Neighborhoods Act, the SCAN
Yes.
Act, which many provinces have. It certainly has its merits, but like any piece of new legislation, we want to tread carefully, make sure it's the right fit here for PEI as there will be potential legislation, and particularly Charlottetown, which will be impacted by there's certainly a lot of consideration. One that, on top of my mind is our low vacancy rate, which plays a factor in certainly considering this act and how they impact displacing people. So there's lots of considerations, certainly it's another tool for police to consider or, use in their arsenal, but, I think we need to certainly get more information and
Take a second sober look at it, yeah. Councillor Twill, we're going to have to move on here. I know we've got that, we just want, I think we know where we're going.
Okay.
Do we agree?
Let's have the vote.
Okay, so can we just agree that we're going to move with it?
Yeah.
Let's go to vote. Thank you kindly. Pens.
Thank you, council. Thank you. Thank God.
Okay. So, Councillor Yanko,
Thank you.
your report.
The best for the last.
Okay.
So strategic priorities in intergovernmental cooperation, we met on November 28th. Draft minutes are included in your package. And the Affordable Housing Committee also met on the 14th of November, and again, those draft minutes are also in your package. And our Youth Engagement Committee also met on the 15th of October and November the 13th, and again, those draft minutes are in your package. I have no resolutions for your consideration. However, I would like to,
Just ask if there are any questions. Any questions on our report? No?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can we just
yes,
go?
sir.
Is this about like last month anyway, thank,
Priorities.
yes.
Yep.
So thank you for your report. You spoke last month on the fire hall. Did you have anything to report on that this month, or I didn't know if you were finished yet, or?
Yeah. It's going to be ready in January. Yeah, for a report then. We're not ready yet.
Oh, you're not?
No,
Okay.
I don't have anything new since last week,
Okay,
or last month, sorry.
okay.
Okay.
I didn't know if you were gonna announce that, or?
Yeah.
Worship?
Yep.
Thank you.
Just one quick.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Council Anna. Look, I just want to ask a question regarding, I keep reading in the newspaper about the Trade Center, Civic Center. I know that the last article was on the front page of the Guardian. Not sure who the author was, but I keep reading in the newspaper about what's taking place with the board. Yeah.
We're not at a point to talk about that.
Well,
because-
Your Worship, with all due respect.
I know.
I know, but let me finish. With all due
No, I'm going to finish. Just please sit down. That question will have to be asked at another time because there are negotiations going on between the city, the province, and Eastlink.
So how come
No.
with all due respect, you're doing interviews on it?
I didn't do interviews. They phoned and I answered the question.
So why can't we discuss
Well,
it?
because, as I said,
Anyway,
a call was made.
yeah, call's made, okay.
Counselor, can you just get
Okay.
up and put your
Let
final
me
note?
get up
to it?
and cheer everybody up.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays, and I wanted to give a little shout out to my fellow colleagues who I've gotten to know over the past year, and no matter how long we're in council, I'm sure there's a lot of us that will have some lasting friendships, and so I wrote a little Christmas cheer for us that means no insult to anyone, just a little bit of fun, and if you'll just indulge me for a minute. Thank you. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through Charlottetown, all councillors were wishing the Tweel would just sit down. The binders were presented by Tracy with care, in hope that Peter Kelly would read the resolutions and say, "There." We councillors were nestled all snug in our seats, while visions of residents watched with defeat. And Mayor Philip in his bow tie, and me in a thong, had just settled our brains for a report from Wayne Long. When out in Queen Street there arose such a clatter, we sprang from the chamber to see what was the matter. Away to the window, not forgetting my flask, I tore open the curtain and threw out the petty cash. The city bus was stuck in the new fallen snow, which gave frustration to the driver. He was screaming from below. When what, to my wondering eyes, became true, but Joey McKinnon and his overtime crew. Kevin ran down so lively and quick, and I knew in a moment he thought he was St. Nick. Terry and the rest of us came, and Mike whistled and shouted. He called us all by name. Kevin, well, where's Julie? Where's Mitchell? Where's Bobby and Terry? There's Jason and Alana and Philip and the other Terry. And don't forget Kevin and Mercy, not Greg, who I might add, he's not known to brag. And then just like that, not wanting defeat, it was Mitchell all dressed in shorts and bare feet. As I drew in my head and turned slowly around, I saw Greg chasing Bobby, and they fell right to the ground. I was dressed oh so fancy from my head to my foot, and my clothes were all branded by top designers to boot. Philip talked loudly and encouraged debate, and can you just imagine if he wasn't first at the gate? Deputy Jason was quiet as he watched the goings-on, rolled his eyes in frustration, sauntered along. Mike's cheeks were all rosy and skin all aglow, but inside his head were thoughts not pure like the new fallen snow. Julie chewed gum, holding it tight in her teeth, and puffed as smoke encircled her head like a wreath. And the rest of us watched in absolute disbelief. A balanced budget, thought Terry, which will pass in a flash, with merely a hint where we would find the bloody cash. We'll term limit Philip, a big spender for sure, unless he cuts taxes to the working class poor. Oh, it was a right jolly old night, and I laughed with delight, with a hint of lip gloss and a twist to my head, soon gave me to know the city bus had nothing to dread. We spoke not a word and got on one by one, told to choose a seat and get ready for some fun. I looked up at the driver. I saw a twinkle in his eye. Could this be St. Nicholas, brilliantly disguised? He filled all our roadies with strong Christmas cheer, then told us to sit back. You've all had one hell of a year. He looked up at us and gave a high five, telling Councillor McLeod, "You don't drink, get up here and drive." And shaking our fingers and thumbing our nose, by wagging the dog up the poles we all rose. And the two Terrys were the bad guys, some people would say, for sending Nick away on his bright crimson sleigh. And I heard Santa shout as he scurried out of sight, Don't expect any freaking toys under your tree tonight. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Comment there? No, we'll move on.
No,
Move on. Vote to adjourn? Hold on, what's left? Oh, I know, but,
That's
Let's do that tomorrow.
okay,
Let's do it tomorrow.
okay.
Do that.
So
What's
we have
that?
to move a motion to move into a closed session. So it's.
Let's do that.
Is there anything on that that has to be done tonight?
Can we not do that tomorrow?
Yeah.
Let's do it tomorrow.
Kelly, just 1 second, just, council, there is the ISIP, and I think that's up in the air, right? Did you speak to,
Yeah, it wasn't anything he needed right now.
okay? And the other issue with,
That's it, Your Worship.
nothing was in, so do you want to move into, we don't have to.
I don't think you have to.
No.
We're all right there, Councilor Twill?
I'm all right. Are you all right?
So, motion to adjourn.
Yep.
Merry Christmas.
all right.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you won't?
That was all right.